urban water mobility system. So yeah, Erik, the floor is yours. I will make you the presenter, and yeah, please tell us more about Zeabuz.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me to this conference. Very interesting presenters here, and a good context to present our coming concept of urban waterborne autonomous mobility. So Zeabuz is a startup from the Norwegian University of Science and Technology in Trondheim, where also I live. And the research community behind the company has been working on autonomous systems for decades in a sense. It means that there has been a spin-off companies from this research community since the 60s actually, and then of course at that time it was automation or control systems, and now we're moving in the direction of autonomy, and Zeabuz is sort of the latest branch on that commercialization journey. Now I'm going to show you what the Zeabuz solution is about and how we think that could change city development all around the world. I'm going to see if I can now share my screen. I see that I have not done that through GoToMeeting before, which means that I need to actually quit and reopen the app before I can share my screen. Sorry, I'll be back in a second.
Okay, so Erik will be back. Let's take a breath before we go on. I hope that, yeah, this was fast. So I see you are back. And I think we have to make you the moderator again. So this should be done now. And now you could share your screen.
Good deal. Yes. Yeah. Can you now see my screen?
Yes, we see it.
That was very quick, wasn't it? Okay, good. What we see here is how we now are designing our ferry system. It's we're creating shortcuts across waterways with this. It's like an alternative to bridges or other waterborne transport, but mostly it's actually where bridges cannot be built, which is, you know, many places in cities there's not an opportunity to build bridges. Maybe it's too far, or you have other ship traffic going in that area that makes those type of bridges too expensive, and so on. So we're making shortcuts, and we're saying that we will revitalize urban waterways with autonomous mobility, because this type of concept has been, you know, normal around the world for maybe hundreds of years, but the most cost-driving element here is the captain, and the more regulated society has become, the more expensive that type of personnel has become, and then the frequency of operation and time of operation has decreased, and then in the end it turns out to a service that is not really dependable for citizens, and it sort of disappeared. And also in the same time we see roads and cars and all these things have appeared and made, you know, of course it's much more efficient and cheaper, but it also, we've ended up in a situation where road traffic has it's been congested all over the world, and building more roads, or let's say one level above this road here in Seoul in South Korea, just doesn't make sense. And then utilize the waterways just sitting there next to these roads in a different manner makes so much sense. And so we're offering here one solution to this type of urban problem that is now all over the world. And you, let's say most cities in the world has been placed near waterways, and because those were the, you know, the mode of transport we used. Now let's take that back. I'm sorry, this picture I know is reversed. So if you know Korean, you will see that the road sign here is actually backwards, but I think you still make the point is okay. So our solution is zero emission, autonomous, waterborne mobility. They are, of course, fully electric. They charge on every stop. And we have many questions regarding, okay, how much battery capacity, how far can you go, and so on. Now, these ferries are quite large, and also they need ballast. So we can actually fit quite a number of or large battery systems in the hull, so that we can charge a little bit on each stop when on each side, with fully charged during night or low operation or low demand hours. It's also intended that this will work on demand. They will not operate unless called for. That's at least that's one option, and typically operate across rivers, canals, lakes, harbor basins. Many harbor basins are actually for use, and then coming from one side to the other could be a long way around. And that's like a perfect shortcut that we could make with our type of ferries. We see good interest from cities because we address so many of the sustainable development goals, both from infrastructure. It's flexible. We create more environmentally friendly cities and so on. So what we offer here, how this will impact society is on 3 levels. One is for citizens. They will then get an opportunity to travel across waterways any time of day, 24/7. Of course, weather windows do exist. So in storms, we may see that they will not operate. And urban developers may here see an opportunity to create a shortcut between a property developing area and into the city center that otherwise would require a long road around. And that's probably our first type of customers, are urban developers that could take this and offer that as a service to an area, and more or less like an elevator in a building, something that just increases the value of that property. And cities and politicians will then address this or implement them to make cities more attractive, cleaner, and give its citizens a moment of zen on the water while watching road traffic jammed in the background. So, and Zeabuz's role in this is that we are masters of autonomy for waterborne mobility. And the founding team is 14 people, and 6 of them are professors, and mostly within the area of autonomy and related fields. So it's a very strong community behind the company. And we develop what we call autonomy as a service for this segment, and then rely on a market developing these ferries. And we have teamed up with Norway's largest modern ferry operator called Dyrkoren that just launched the world's largest electric ferry, and they're also experimenting with hydrogen, and now they want to be working on autonomy. So, but for autonomy to work well commercially, we need to build trust in that autonomy actually is safe. That's just for passengers, for customers, for regulatory bodies, for society at large. And then we think that is where we need to put the most effort. So we have that as a self-standing, or let's say its own development area. Build trust in our technology through a transparent assurance framework, and we use systems like digital twins and lots of simulations and so on to do that. And we think that's also how we can show to the world that our systems can be trusted. And just to put a parallel to that, Tesla, Waymo, and other big companies that work with autonomous mobility, they have a lot of data from their driving cars in real life, but they do many times more miles on their systems in simulators, because that's what's required to train the system to operate safely. Now, on the road, autonomy is many orders of magnitude more difficult, because there are the situations and the number of situations and the speed and the number of objects and everything is so much larger and more difficult to comprehend for a digital system. While on water, on crossing a waterway in a city, we think will be much easier in a way, because we have maximum 5 knots. Traffic may be there, but it's all kind of moving slowly. Distances are can be handled, and in sum gives us a situation where today's technology can handle almost any thinkable situation on our urban waterway. So that gives us a quicker way into being commercial potentially. So we're also committed to inspire change of travel habits. We're working with the politicians in Norway and abroad to make people understand that this is coming. This will change how you can think about urban development. This is another building block of thinking mobility flow through your city. And it's also flexible, so you can sort of think that, okay, if I try one stretch or one leg across a waterway, I may actually move it later because I found that that makes more sense. Or you can add one, and then you can have a network of ferries moving up and down waterways when technology allows for that to happen as well. We're very open to innovation with partners. We, as I said, work with a large ferry operator. We also work with other technology providers, so we can focus really on the autonomy as a service profile. And also trying to encourage some of these partners to think about how an urban autonomous ferry can be used for other things as well when, let's say, passenger demand is low, like at night or something like that, for cargo handling or trash collection, data gathering from the environment, and much more. There are opportunities there that we find very interesting and look for good solutions into. So let me just explain a little bit what is autonomy in this context. This Zeabuz autonomy platform is based on certain building blocks, and of course one is the sensors and the precipitation, or the perception sensors that gather data about the surroundings. Now that data is put into a stack of all inputs from LiDAR, from optical cameras, from radar, from infrared cameras, and AIS, and so on. And all this is put into a stack that creates the situational awareness for the system. And this is really where the hard stuff of autonomy comes in. How do you make sure that all the sensors are seeing the right thing and can actually give you that type of data that makes you understand that, you know, this is a situation, and then how do I then act to that? For instance, here you see some kayaks playing, and it has seen those, like that's exemplified with the red circumference there, and then there are some ducks in the way. Okay, so to travel safely, you need to go around that, right? Normally, I guess the ducks will fly away, but anyway, this is just an example. So motion planning and collision avoidance is sort of the third step of an autonomy logic. And also then, you know, based on situational awareness, what do I do and how do I avoid collision with objects in my way? And then let's see, last here is motion and actuator control. Now that is, let's say, autopilot, which is more or less already off-the-shelf type of systems that can be provided even for leisure boats. You can buy autopilots where you say, I want to go from A to B, and it takes you there, but it doesn't have any clue if it's going to collide in anything that's in its path, except that it's going to avoid, you know, crashing into a rock. So the autonomy, what it does is actually giving you then the comprehension of the surroundings, and then make the proper decision to avoid collisions, and then put that into this autonomous or into the automation system or autopilot system. So we're on the left, and on the right here is what's more off-the-shelf type of systems. So where I said we come from NTNU in Trondheim, the Norway's largest technical university, and we're based out of a research community that actually built 2 prototypes of this kind. One is called Milliampere, that was launched in 2018, and then the second one with well, I say inventive name Milliampere 2 was launched April this year, and will start some sort of a first of its kind operation this summer here in Trondheim, crossing a canal with not so much traffic and also very calm waters. So it's a very good location to start industrializing this technology. And they're first of its kind, so it's a good place for Zeabuz to be on commercializing this type of technology as well. We don't do this alone, of course. We have our partners with NTNU and our Torghatten, which is the investor and the business partner and development partner. We also work closely with DNV, which is a world-leading classification society on ship assurance and classification. We work closely with them in developing how regulatory bodies can classify autonomous maritime systems. And they use Zeabuz as a use case to develop that type of structure. And as far as we understand, they are leading that that development among the classification societies or companies in the world. So they have offices also in Trondheim, and we, there's the sort of integrated part of our team in many respects. Marine Technologies is developing these automation systems, and we work closely with them to get that integration that was between autonomy and automation that I showed on the slide before. Norwegian Maritime Authority is a very important actor here. We cannot operate autonomously without the blessing or certification from them. And they have an ambition to become maybe the first authority of its kind to find good ways to regulate autonomous marine traffic. So, and then we have selected the simplest type of operation, and think maybe we can also be then the first to find that, to receive such certification from them within the next couple of years, perhaps. And on that note, we will, of course, work with some sort of supervised autonomy in the beginning, with one person on board our ferries, handling passengers and so forth, predominantly leaving the autonomy by itself, but being there in case something happens until the right certifications are in place. So we're a growing team. I'm not going to go through who that is, but we also have a strong board of directors and advisors that will help this fly. Now, just let me just give you one use case that we're working with very closely. This is in a small city in the southern part of Norway called Sandefjord. Used to be one, actually like a capital for whaling. That's sort of a proud history, but also not so proud history, because they hunted down a lot of whales, but it also was like an industrial period of big pride for that city. Now they're redeveloping the city. It's come to life again after many years of being sleepy, because after the whaling period ended. And now they want to make a shortcut between the city center on the up here and then towards the former shipyard area that is now being rebuilt into residential area, and then building restaurants and so on. And they want to be the first in the world to launch such a ferry. That's summer next year. So that's what we're working on now, to get that pilot in place, and full steam ahead on that. And then after that, when we have done this, we are ready to then go broader out. I guess Norway will have more of these ferries before we can or should go abroad, but let's say in a couple of years we are ready to go to Europe as our first destination. Northern Europe, probably. There's a lot of waterways, a lot of canals, a lot of opportunities, and that's what we're here to do. There's a lot of traction on the media side for this. CNN wrote a good article about us last year. So we think this is definitely something that is that will come. We think this will change how urban developers and cities will develop in the future, and then also hopefully some of you participating in this conference will see both market opportunities for us, but maybe more how we can collaborate in making each other stronger in getting this message across and develop this type of systems in the best possible manner, so that it can actually be adopted by societies and make our cities better to live in all over the world. So I guess that's what I wanted to say today, and I'm open for any questions.
Yes, thank you, Erik, for the presentation. Yes, there are questions in the chat. I just have to see and screen. Maybe you can see as well, from Julia Lange. Yeah. So the first question is what you see as lessons learned from this work with all these high technology aspects and different actors that you mentioned, also on the regulatory and legal side, I see. So is there, state now any advice that you could give to also other countries? Because it's obvious that this is not only a technology part, but also a regulatory part.
It's that's a good question. It's a very broad question. I guess it's like a key point of getting a project like this together, right? I think Zeabuz was founded on a very good platform. The founding team, as I said, is 14 people, and we're all sort of seniors in, not like senior citizens now. We're experienced. We have network. We know thousands of people. We know the big companies. We have names in Norwegian industry. And then when we started talking about this idea, we could quickly pull the right people together. Because it made sense, the business idea made sense, and then we had the people, so we had the right group, and then we can find the right investors, and then we could build the right business plan, and then that snowball started rolling really quickly, really fast. So I think that's like I've been a founder for many years, and then I guess that's the most difficult part, to get that snowball rolling, right? There's just that initial spark. If you don't know too many people and you only have an idea and you know hardly how to commercialize it, it's going to be a long road. But if you know a lot of people and you can put this together, it's a whole different story. So and that's sort of been my role, to do exactly that. That's what I know. I don't know too much about autonomy. I know maritime industry, and I know how things work. I'm an engineer, but also an MBA, and that's where maybe I come in and do this and build teams to do the job. So does that answer your question, Julia?
So yeah.
Yes, thanks a lot. So I see that a large variety of team members helps a lot, and to have, yeah, also the knowledge of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, the latter is very true. Actually, two of the professors that was in the founding team is in the board, and they have founded many companies. I think one of them has like a university record or number of companies founded. So it's become like a spin-off machine in this, you know, from that Institute of Engineering Cybernetics, as they call it, which is, you know, around simulation, control theory, and autonomy and so on. So that it really helps. You know what to do, sort of. Yeah. Doesn't mean that we're going to be successful for sure, you know, but it helps a lot.
Okay, Julia, is also your second question answered by that, or do you have any further
ones? Yeah, well, the second question goes a little bit more into the direction of how do you work together with all these different people from with different backgrounds? Do you organize yourself in smaller groups, or because I see that there are so many different aspects that have to be worked on to bring all this together to finally make it work? As you say, the legal parts, the technology itself. So yeah, maybe if you have, if you could give an insight on that, that would be interesting to me.
Yeah, that's I think that's the key, really. One thing is for sure, you need to find the right people that know what they're doing, right? They need to be really experts in their fields, and so that's I think where we've started off in a very good manner here, that we got the right people on board, that we could. So I'm really good at delegating. I don't like leading people. I like to create, you know, good processes and build organizations. I need people that can lead themselves, and then, you know, find their way to operate, and then, you know, form the most optimal groups that need to collaborate to make to make the right type of progress. So I think, you know, freedom and responsibility is really the key, but for that to happen successfully, you need really clever people. So recruitment, that's the key, yeah? Finding the right people to do your job the best possible way, so I can, you know, focus on what I need to do, because that's just how it needs to happen. Does that make sense?
Okay, thank you. We have another question going back a little bit to the system that you development. So question from Gustav, will can this vessel go on regular timetable, or is it also planned that they may go on demand?
Both, actually. We think maybe on demand is going to be more efficient, because sometimes it will be, or let's say it could be both. During high frequency or high demand hours, it may just go back and forth. I mean, you may have two of them going, you know, like that. And then when demand drops, it's they go on demand. You know, they you press a button, or I think more likely it will be an app that calls for it. So then, yeah, that's it. So.
Okay, are there further questions from the audience? Yeah, I understood that you will now go, you have already some small pilots, the milliampere 1 and 2. Yeah. What was the experience? I mean, did you test this also already with clients, with citizens, and what was their reaction to this offer?
Yeah, that's good question. We're the milliampere number 1 tested only technology, and successfully so much that we could build the second one, which is now being put into operation this summer, where the passenger aspect will be tested. So we haven't really tested, let's say, unfamiliar passengers and how their experience with this will be. That's going to be like a world's first this summer in Trondheim. And perhaps this is where we'll find some unseen, unthought of challenges and how to interact between, you know, an autonomous boat and then passengers, and if another fast-going boats that goes like above speed limit comes towards this ferry, how do the ferry then communicate to its passengers that it's handling that situation safely without scaring the passengers? And just, so there's a lot of communication aspects there that we're very anxious to start working on. And in the end, it's all about the perception of the perceived trust, right? Both from passengers and surroundings. Also, the surrounding boats need to see that, hey, this is an autonomous ferry. Will it break now that I come here, or will I break, or what happens? Because normally, if you notice next time you're driving a car, there's a lot of eye contact going on in traffic. And that is so important for people to understand what's going on. I see you, okay, we have a mutual understanding of what's going on, and then we continue. Now, when you remove that eye contact, how do people around it react? That's a very interesting question.
Okay. Yeah, we invited you as an autonomous concept to an electric water mobility seminar. So obvious question, what is the connection between this? Is this concept dependent on battery electric propulsion, or is it also, can you also imagine that it go on other propulsion systems?
Yeah, we think electric is going to be dominant in this sector. Electricity is mostly everywhere, and we also don't use that much electricity because we move slowly with not so much water displacement and friction. So it's a very good fit between batteries and this concept. But there are places you may see that this could be implemented where there are no electricity, and maybe hydrogen or something could be tested out. We are not working in that direction, but we see that this may happen. But then again, you may also, use solar panels or something and charge up local batteries that can, then charge the ferry on the shore side. So in the end, we think this could be an off-grid solution, if you have the right conditions to produce your own electricity. So.
Okay.
And yeah, and charging is automatic. Yeah, when you come into the shore, I see that question. You come in, you close the hatch, you lock into the docking station or docking adapter, as you call it, and then charging starts automatically. So.
And this is also something that will be implemented on your pilot that will start next year in Sandefjord, that you have automatic charging, and this will be then on timetable, or will this already be on demand?
That's not decided yet how we do that, but yeah, automatic charging is definitely part of that concept, and whether it's on demand or not, it's we think it's going to be on demand. It's the best solution for this. Also, another aspect, it's going to be for free, because the guy paying for this, he's a property developer. He bought that old shipyard on the other side, and he wants this to create that shortcut into the city center. And paying the price for one ferry is small compared to the increased value that his property will get from this. Very commercial, but also very nice way to do it, because otherwise people will have to drive cars around, and then so it's a very it changes the behavior of people into a better.
Okay, thank you. Maybe one last question. So if a city or a public transport operator wants to jump into this autonomous water mobility, so you as a company, what do you plan to offer? Is it just that you offer kind of the development? Do you offer the vessels, or do you also think about some mobility as a service schemes that you may offer to the city? So what are your kind of business plans for the future?
Yeah, another good question. Yeah, we believe let's say our current business model spans everything from system sales and then just running the autonomy as a service to mobility as a service. We run the whole operation through our subsidiaries and together with our investor Torghatten. So we can offer both. That's where we stand today. We will probably converge towards one or the other when we are into the market, when we see what is the best way forward and how the market adapts to this. But we can definitely do both as it is now.
Yeah, thank you very much, Erik. I don't see any further questions on that for this little peek into the future. Yeah, I think we are looking